Right, in this video I'm going to show you guys the exact system I used to get 3 A stars in my A levels so that you guys have the best possible chance of acing your exams. And make sure to stick around to the end of the video where I'm going to give you guys the exact plan I suggest you follow for the rest of this summer if you're going into year 12 or year 13. So I think there are two main groups of people when it comes to studying. Those who think that how long you study is the only thing that matters, so more hours equals better results. And then the other group of people who say that you can just study 2 hours a day as long as it's effective. Truth is, they're both correct, but the problem is that the top students are going to be the ones who can study the longest and make as many of those hours as possible as effective as possible. So that's what you need to do. That's the foundation of it. And in this video, I'm going to show you guys how you can achieve that, as well as giving you guys a bunch of tips, techniques, and study methods that you can use to get those top marks in your A levels. Alright, past papers. At this point, I don't know what you're calling studying if the overwhelming majority of your study time isn't spent doing past papers. Let's make a rule right here. So for every hour of time that you spend studying or just learning content, you have to spend 2 hours actually applying that knowledge and doing as many practice questions and past papers as possible. This is honestly a non-negotiable. I see a bunch of people spending ridiculous amounts of time making really nice looking notes, and it's probably just procrastination. Realistically, solving practice problems is the only way you're actually going to do well in your exams. You can learn content however you want, but at the end of the day, if you're not applying it, you're just wasting your time. It's a form of active recall, which I probably don't need to tell you by now is one of the most effective techniques for actually learning content. In my opinion, this even makes studying a little more fun than just reading through notes passively and pretending the knowledge is going in your head. There's something satisfying about actually solving problems and actually seeing progress in your test marks. Most questions are repeats, so just do as many past papers as possible. Here's what I want you to do. Create a spreadsheet or document tracking every past paper you do. Include the year, the grade boundaries, what you scored, and which questions you got wrong. This becomes your roadmap for what to focus on next. I know there are a bunch of you watching this video who are probably a little bit scared of taking past papers this seriously, but whatever you score, it doesn't matter because you're just going to improve from there. Because whatever you do score now is with your less than ideal amount of revision. So imagine your score after you've done 5, even 10 past papers. I also recommend making a document of all the questions you didn't know how to answer, looking through the worked examples so you know how to get all the marks, and then at a later date, you're going to go through all of them and try again until you can properly answer them. Don't just look at the mark scheme and say, yeah, I understand that. Genuinely go through the question from scratch and give it your best go a second time. Next tip leads on from the last one, which is to actually redo the past papers that you've done. I think no matter how many past papers you've done, there's almost always more past papers or practice questions you could be solving, just because of the crazy number of resources online. But I also think it's very much worth going back and solving these past papers again, just to see what you score now with your better knowledge of the subject. I really don't believe that after a couple weeks, you're going to remember every question on a past paper, just because if I asked you what you think you would get if you resat the past paper, you probably wouldn't say you're going to get 100%, because the chance of that for anyone is really low. So keep doing those past papers and make sure the methods stick in your head. Next tip is to find your weaknesses and hyper focus on them. Please, please, please don't waste your time on things that you already know how to do. I want you to go through the specification and highlight every single point that you're not 100% confident on, and then you're going to solve as many practice problems as you can on each of those spec points until you are 100% confident. My next tip is to visit everything on a consistent basis. This is actually the essence of spaced repetition, which is a super scientifically proven and evidence-backed technique, which is all great, but the idea behind it is that you actually want to combat the forgetting curve. When you learn something, your memory just keeps getting foggier and foggier as time goes on, so by revisiting the content, you're going to combat that. A lot of exams in A levels can have pretty high grade boundaries, and you might be wondering how a lot of students are able to score 90% plus in these exams that aren't super easy. And it's not luck, it's not because they're naturally smart, it's because they've done so many questions before that the questions just become familiar to them every time they see a new one. Every new question they see, they can just map it onto something that they've already solved before, because they all basically use the same methods every single time. You just need to be able to use those methods correctly and know when to use them, and that only comes from solving practice problems consistently. My next tip is to learn the out of as many worked examples as you can. It's like how in essay subjects, you want to have a general plan of what essay you're going to write, and you can apply a similar thing to maths and other science subjects. But the good thing is that in maths and those sciencey subjects, the questions are way more repetitive, and the answers you're going to have to give are way more formulaic. On a lot of maths practice question websites, I would give my best go at a practice problem, and then take a look at the mark scheme as well as a handwritten solution that someone's done. And a lot of the time in those handwritten solutions, solutions, they'll mark next to each line where the marks are being given out, which is super useful. And my next tip is about past papers again, and it's to make sure that you sit some in exam conditions. You don't want to get scared randomly or feel uncomfortable when it comes to the real exam. I'll admit that I didn't always sit every single past paper in exam conditions. I wouldn't even always time them, but I did with some of them, and that was really important with getting me used to the feel of being in the exam. So just save a couple past papers for actual exam conditions. No food, no music, just water, your past paper, and a pen. Now I have a couple random miscellaneous study tips that I want to give you guys. The first tip is to find a time of day when you're completely alone. I honestly wouldn't call myself a night person or a morning person, but when I really need to focus, I tend to ruin my sleep schedule a little bit so that there's at least 5 hours of the day where I can get work done in a quiet environment. I tend to prefer late at night, but that's just up to you and what you prefer. However, make sure this doesn't affect your exam day. You don't want to sleep at 3 a.m. the night before an exam that starts at 9. That leads me on to the next tip, which is to sleep a ton before your exam. Go to bed early, make sure you're feeling ready in the morning. Don't stress whatsoever before, during, or after the exam. In general, stress is not going to help you with anything in life. It sounds like corny advice, but it's true. And regarding whether you should listen to music when you study, personally, I find lo-fi music and no lyric music to be boring and annoying instead of super helpful. For the most part, I don't recommend actually listening to music when you study, so you can just focus properly and get as efficient with your work as possible. Speaking of environments, definitely try and switch up where you work every now and then. It can get pretty miserable sitting in the exact same chair at the same desk all day. So one day maybe tell yourself that you're going to study for 2 hours in the morning, and then for the rest of the day you're going to work in a coffee shop or something. Do whatever suits you. At some points when motivation gets really low, I'll study with music, because studying with music is better than not studying at all. Other quick things, please put your phone on do not disturb when you're studying, and exercise. It's genuinely going to help you study for longer. Most of the time when I'd be 3 weeks out from an exam, I'd just skip the gym in general because I would say that I don't have time for it, but you definitely do. It's going to help you if anything. I also want to say, this is more for post-exam. If you feel like you worked really hard and the exam still didn't go 100% your way, don't stress about it too much. First of all, whatever's happened can't be changed now. And also, someone like you who's watching a video like this is probably someone who's prepped a lot for this exam. So if you found it hard, you can imagine that a lot of people must have found it hard. Everything is scaled and graded according to how everyone does, so don't stress over these things. And alright, so you have to plan, and as promised, here's my rest of summer plan for those of you going into year 12 and year 13, and even year 11 for your GCSEs. You only have to spend 4 hours a day right now. You can get it done whenever you want throughout the day. I recommend getting it done in the morning so you can chill for the rest of the day, but you're going to break it up into 4-hour-long sessions with a 10-minute break in between each one. And this rule only breaks if you're doing a past paper, for which you want to make sure you're sitting down for the actual time you would be given if it were a real exam. Try and do like 1 past paper a day, and then you'll be very much on track. For the rest of the time, when you're not doing past papers, you're going to be solving random practice questions from the textbook or a bunch of online resources. I'll link a couple in the description. Or you're going to be going through the spec and marking any points that you don't know, and then solving practice problems on them, learning the content if you need to. It's super simple, not easy, but simple. You just have to grind it out. Alright, but that's about it for all of the tips I've got for you guys in this video. Hopefully you guys found something in here useful. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe. It helps out the channel a ton. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.